Welcome back to Don't Forget Your Flashlight. This week we are diving on into a fun story for you. This story is fictional, but some of the I'm talking about the story. Can you let me talk, mother?
I thought you said it was about the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes.
That's not fiction.
You and I were not a part of it.
Explain. Mother effer. I created a fictional story off of real facts. So, like, dates and times and the events that'll happen in the story are based off of the real events of the Spanish. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah, you should have said that in the first place.
So, anyways, Spanish Inquisition. Bad. I wrote a story for you, and I'm going to tell you about it.
Thanks.
Are you ready? Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, I guess not.
I was like, not really, no.
All right. So picture this. The late 15th century in Spain. You're in a small town where everyone knows everyone. Stone houses, narrow streets, a marketplace that always smells like bread, olives, and animals. There are old Christian families who've been there as long as anyone can remember, and families who converted from Judaism or Islam years ago. People who now go to Mass, cross themselves, give alms, and try to blend in. For a while, life has been more or less peaceful. You have your neighbors, your work, your routines. Casey is one of the old Christians, born and raised in this town. His closest friend is Michael.
What up, God?
Michael, whose parents converted from Judaism a generation ago. To Casey, that's just part of Michael's family story. Like the color of his hair or the way he laughs too hard. They grew up together, shared bread and wine, helped each other in the fields. Michael is one of the most devout people Casey knows. He's always at Mass, always crosses himself, always careful to do the right thing. If anyone is faithful, it's him. Then, one market day, everything shifts. Just a little. But enough for Casey to feel it in his gut. He's walking through the stalls, the air thick with shouts and smells, when the town crier appears at the edge of the square. The crier wears the badge of the royal officer, holds a folded piece of parchment, and rings a handbell until people quiet down. "Hear this," the crier said. "By order of the Catholic Majesties." The crowd presses closer. Shopkeepers, farmers, children clutching mothers' skirts. Casey wipes his hands on his tunic and listens.
Hold up.
You're wearing a tunic in this.
Why?
It's 15th century.
It's like, I feel like
Did you not get the...
No, I got it.
Late 15th century. Casey, picture this. You're in the late 15th century. You're in the garb of a late 15th... You're wearing a tunic. You're wiping your hands on your tunic.
Okay, I guess.
You know? Hear me out. All right. Where do I leave off?
What do you think you're going to wear?
What do you think you're wearing?
Like a... I don't know. Maybe like
Can I just say real quick, by the way, that first line, I feel like that'd be such an interesting smell of bread, olives, and I'm picturing like
and animals.
I'm just picturing like a petting zoo, like how that is a distinct smell.
I would imagine a marketplace like that would literally, you'd have the smell of the breads cooking, because that's pretty, strong smell. You'd probably also have olives because that's a huge import-export, and then animals because,
Would it be the olives, or you think more like the brine?
I
maybe.
I picture it smelling exactly like Barnes and Noble.
I doubt that. All right, continuing on, because this is a long story, and we got to move forward. Casey wipes his hands on his tunic and listens. The proclamation is about a new tribunal, something called the Holy Office of Inquisition, established to maintain the purity of faith and investigate false Christians. Those who pretend to be Catholic but secretly follow the errors of Judaism or Islam. The crier reads it in a flat, official tone that makes everything sound inevitable. At first, it just sounds like another royal thing, another law, in a world that already has too many laws. People mutter, then go back to haggling over grain and fish. Casey shakes his head and turns to buy bread. But as he walks away, he notices the way two women are whispering, heads bent close, eyes flickering, toward the house of a family everyone knows used to be Jewish. That night in the tavern, the rumors start. Casey sits with Michael. At a rough wooden table, the place is dim, lit by a few smoky lamps. A trader from another town is talking too loud after too much wine. "They've already started in Sellville," the trader says. "Pulled people from their homes, said they were Judaizers, still keeping the old ways in secret. They say they're confessions, real ones." "How do you know?" someone asks. The trader shrugs. "Letters. Men of the road. Word travels."
Everybody in this tavern has had such a hard life.
And when word travels like this, It usually means something's up. Casey feels Michael tense beside him. Michael's hand tightens around his cup for a second, neither of them saying anything. Then Michael forces a laugh.
Well, we have nothing to fear, eh? We go to mass, we confess, we do everything right. They can investigate all they want.
Casey smiles, but he notices the way Michael's eyes don't match the smile. There's a flicker of something else there. Old fear, old memory, something he doesn't talk about. Weeks pass. At first, nothing much changes. Life goes on. But the background noise of the town is different now. The crier comes back more often, reading more royal letters about false converts and heretics. There are new sermons at church about purity of faith, about wolves in sheep's clothing. The priest's voice is sharper when he talks about those who honor the Christ with their lips, but not with their hearts. In the marketplace, gossip gets teeth.
Did you hear about the family in Trobodia?
A woman whispers to her neighbor as Casey walks by.
Taken at night. All of them. They say the father confessed to reading the old books, to praying in the old language.
Excuse me,
Another-
ma'am, would you care for an inhaler?
1500s, those didn't exist yet. Another man adds, they say the Inquisitor keeps lists, names, families. Once your name is on the list, that's it. Most of this is rumor. People barely know what's true, but it doesn't really matter. The effect is the same. People start going home earlier. Doors close a little faster after dark. Conversations lower when someone walks past whose family history is complicated. Even Michael changes in small ways. He doesn't linger after mass as long. He doesn't laugh as easily. Doesn't talk as openly about his parents' past. He starts going to confession more often, like he's trying to make sure there's nothing at all that anyone could use against him. Then, one day a letter arrives. Casey is at home when a dusty rider comes through town with a sack of letters, messages from the next region over. It's rare for Casey to get mail, but the rider calls his name and hands him a folded paper, sealed with wax. He recognizes the handwriting. A friend from another town over. A man he hasn't seen in years. He breaks the seal and reads.
To my good friend, Casey, I pray this letter finds you and your family well.
I don't know why you have an Italian accent, but we're gonna roll with it.
Things here have taken a strange turn, and I feel compelled to warn you of what is happening. Several families in our town have disappeared, taken in the early hours before sunrise. No explanation has been given, but some say they were removed by the newly established Holy Office, though no one dares speak of it openly. There is talk of question of men in dark clothes knocking on doors without warning. Folks do not walk the streets at night anymore. Even the children sense something is wrong. Be watchful, my friend. The air feels heavy here, as if something is shifting beneath our feet. I fear this new tribunal will reach your town soon enough. Your friend always, Gabriel.
Real quick.
Casey,
You can edit it out, but real quick.
And I
I'm
do.
not gonna lie. It was like a mixture of the old lady from SpongeBob that goes chocolate and Italian.
It's exactly what I was going for. How did I do? Give me a scale 1 to 10.
Oh,
And anybody can leave a comment how I did.
7.5.
7.5. That's pretty good.
it was a good impression.
Just good impression. Good impression. All right.
Michael, what did you give me out of 10?
I'll give you an 8. It was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I'm coming for you, Alan Tudyk. Just kidding.
Anyways, Casey folds the letter slowly. His first thought is of Michael.
Why? Hang on, why?
Oh yeah, don't I live in the same town?
But I'm getting a letter from Gabe, and I'm like,
Because people with
Michael.
checkered pasts, people whose family pasts are Michael's past, and that's something that someone could hold against him.
all right.
Where do you
I-
fall in the story, Gabe?
I'm just in another town. Ignore me. I'm
Oh, so
traveling all
this is
throughout.
like the only part. Is this letter?
No, I come back in later with another letter
Okay.
I get to read another letter.
from your dear friend Gabe when he went to go visit a city.
Just
Okay, go.
just curious.
Stay tuned. All right. All right. And again, time doesn't actually make sense here because I'm trying to encompass the entirety of the Spanish Inquisition. So for purpose of this story, I will say time doesn't really
Time
make sense.
periods.
Okay. Time passes, years in fact. The Inquisition becomes a fact of life, like taxes and the church, and the changing of seasons. There's a new man whose name people mutter, and I'm going to butcher this name because I've tried to pronounce it correctly and I cannot do it. Torquemada, the Grand Inquisitor, famous for his severity. People like Casey never see men like that. They just feel the consequences rippling outward. More edicts, more suspects, more fear. In sermons, priests speak of the need to purge the kingdom of secret Jews and Muslims, of heretics, of those who question the church. People learn to watch their words. A careless joke, a complaint, an odd habit can be fuel for suspicion. Friendship grows quieter too. There's a man in town named Aldo. Sharp-eyed, always listening. He's one of those people who seems to collect other people's business. He smiles, but it never reaches his eyes. He always noticed that Michael's family used to be something else, before they became Christians. And over the years, Aldo has had his own little resentments. A business deal that didn't go his way, a perceived slight, a moment where Michael spoke up and challenged him in front of others. Now, if that matters, or none of that matters to the Inquisition, of course, but it matters to Aldo. And in a world where anonymous accusations are accepted, personal grudges, and holy zeal mix into something dangerous. By now, there have been autos de fe, I think is how it's pronounced, autos de fe, I'm probably mispronouncing that, in nearby cities, or public acts of faith, where those judged by Inquisition are marched out, sentences read aloud. Some are forced to do public penance, others are handed over to the secular authorities and burned. Stories of these ceremonies travel far. People describe the spectacle, the crowds, the processions, and the condemned in yellow or gray garments, painted with flames or demons. The long sermons reminding everyone what happens to those who stray. Casey hears about one. Oh, go ahead.
So people in these acts of faith, they'll just be lit on fire.
So basically, what would happen is once the Inquisition had gotten the information they wanted from you, regardless, you would be considered. You'd have to commit an act of faith where you would get dressed in rags, and sometimes they would paint demons, sometimes they'd paint flames on these rags, and you'd be marched through the town, and everyone would chastise you. They could throw things at you, and basically you just had to repent. And at the end of it, depending on the severity of your crimes, the church either decided life in prison or you were going to be burned. But
Sweet.
yeah.
Oof.
So Casey hears about one of these specific acts of faith from another letter. Casey,
Is this from you? Oh, okay, this is
another
from
letter.
my good friend
Next.
Gabe.
Next letter.
Casey, I write to you after returning from the city, and my hands still tremble as I put ink to this page. I have seen with my own eyes what becomes of those taken by the Inquisition, and auto de fe was held here. An act of faith, they call it. Crowds filled the square. The condemned were brought out in garments painted with flames and demons. Some looked empty, others terrified. Their confessions were read aloud, though whether those words were freely given, I cannot say. The smoke from the torches mixed with incense and something else I would rather not describe. The sound of the crowds was unlike anything I have ever heard. Half prayer, half dread. I left before the end, unable to stomach the rest. Casey, take care. If suspicion takes root in a town, it does not let go. And once a man's name is spoken in the wrong ear, there is no unspeaking it. May God keep you safe, Gabriel.
I just want to point out there's a few parts of that where you almost sound like Nosferatu, like the new one from Nosferatu.
All of this hangs over Casey's town like a storm cloud. Then, the storm finally hits home. It happens on a night that begins like any other. Casey and his wife are in bed, saying their evening prayers. The streets outside are quiet. Somewhere a dog barks. The smell of oil from the lamp mixes with the faint scent of dust and wool. They finish their prayers, cross themselves, and lie back ready to sleep. Not far away, Michael is sitting at his own table, counting coins from the day's work. His wife is putting the last of the bread away. Their children are already asleep. There's a knock at Michael's door. Not a polite tap, a firm, deliberate pounding. His wife freezes. Michael looks up, a coil of dread tightening in his stomach. They glance at each other, and both think the same thing but don't say it. The knock comes again. When Michael opens the door, there are 3 men standing there. One is dressed like a local official, an alguacil, a bailiff, with a leather satchel at his side. The other 2 are armed, cloaks pulled tight around them. Behind them, further back in the street, a 4th figure waits in the shadows, watching. Michael, son of... The official begins, reading from a document. He says Michael's full name, his father's name, the house he lives in. You are required to present yourself to the Holy Office for questioning on suspicion of false conversion and Judaizing practices. Michael's mouth goes dry. Michael, your turn.
I don't understand. I go to mass. I confess.
This is not the place to discuss this.
the man says. His tone is cold, practiced. Come quietly. If you resist, it will go harder for you and for your family. His children wake at the voices and start to cry. His wife clutches her shawl to her chest, eyes wide.
Please,
She says.
he's a good Christian.
One of the guards steps forward, hand on the hilt of his sword. Enough! Michael turns back to his family. For a moment, he just looks at them. The fear on his wife's face, the confusion on his children's. He wants to say something reassuring, something strong, but all that comes out in a hoarse whisper.
Pray for me.
They bind his hands, not cruelly but efficiently, and lead him out into the street. The fourth figure in the shadows turns just enough that in the faint light, Michael can make out his face. It's Aldo. For a second, their eyes meet. Aldo doesn't smile. He just gives a tiny nod, like someone acknowledging that the inevitable has happened. Michael feels something twist inside of him. Anger, betrayal, and a hollow certainty that he will not be coming home anytime soon, if at all. The Inquisitor prison is not far, but it might as well be in another world. Thick walls, heavy doors, small barred windows. Inside, the air smells of damp stone, sweat, and old fear. The days that follow for Michael are a blur of interrogation and darkness. It starts with questions, many questions, asked by men in robes who sit behind a table, quills ready, faces impassive. They ask about his parents, his grandparents, his childhood, who he speaks to, what he eats, whether he bathes before certain days, whether he has ever seen his wife light candles on a Friday evening, whether he has ever whispered prayers in another language. Michael answers over and over. He is a Christian. He follows the church. He only wants to live in peace. But to the Inquisition, an accusation is already half a conviction. The burden is on him to prove his innocence, and there's always someone willing to say they heard or saw something once, maybe years ago, that only now seems important. When the answers don't satisfy, they take him to another room. It is small, lit by a single torch. There are ropes hanging from a pulley in the ceiling, a wooden frame in one corner, a bench with straps, buckets of water on the floor. They show him the strapada first. Garucha. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these words correctly at all. They are torture devices. We'll explain. Some of them call it. His hands are tied behind his back, rope wrapped around his wrists, running up through the pulley. They haul him off the ground slowly until his shoulders feel like they're on fire, until the joints strain and pop. If he cries out, they note it calmly. Sometimes they let him drop a little, sudden, painful, then jerk him up again, so the sockets threaten to tear. Confess, they say. Tell us how you kept the old law. Tell us who else does it. He grits his teeth, moans, denies Bell's prayers. When he passes out, they revive him. Later, they lay him on the rack, the patro. His arms and legs are tied to rollers. With each turn, the tension increases, pulling his body longer, making every muscle scream. He can feel things tearing inside him. He hears the crack of wood, the muttering voices of the men in the room, the scraping of the quill on parchment as someone writes down his words, his cries. In between sessions, there is the water torture, the toka. They stuff a cloth into his mouth and tilt his head back, and pour water so it seeps in slowly, choking, suffocating, making his body think it's drowning. It's the OG version of waterboarding.
I was gonna say
He
it's not
can't
like
move.
waterboarding.
All he can do is gag, cough, panic. Every instinct screams at him to make it stop, to say whatever they want. Over time, reality blurs. He doesn't know what day it is, how long he's been there, what he's already said. Some days he denies everything. Other days it's agony and terror. He starts to say what they seem to want to hear. That yes, there were times his family lit candles, that yes, his grandfather spoke words he didn't understand, and that yes, he might have had thoughts that were not purely Christian. Each word he gives them, they write down and read back to him later as proof. Meanwhile, back in town, people talk. They talk about how Michael must have been hiding something. They talk about how the Inquisition wouldn't arrest someone without cause. They talk about how it's safer not to speak of it at all. Casey hears all of this and feels like he's walking around in a nightmare. He knows Michael. He knows the man who helped him fix his roof, who stood beside him at his baptisms and funerals. He knows that if there was ever a loyal Christian in this town, it was Michael. But what does that matter now? Weeks, months pass. Then, one day, a new proclamation is made. There will be an auto de fe in the nearest city. Names are not announced in advance, but everyone knows what it means, that confessions have been made, sentences decided, and some of the condemned will be paraded and punished in public. Casey feels it like a stone in his stomach. He doesn't know for sure, but he fears. The day of the auto de fe, he goes. The square is packed. A platform has been built. There are priests, officials, nobles in fine clothes. Common people pressed together. A crucifix looms over everything. They start with mass and long sermons about the dangers of heresy, the mercy of the church, the need for unity in the faith. Then the condemned are brought out. They wear strange garments, sanbenitos, long tunics painted with symbols, crosses, flames, demons. Some have ropes around their necks, some look hollow, broken, others look dazed, blinking in the daylight after months in the dark. Their crimes are read aloud: false conversions, Judaizing, blasphemy, owning forbidden books, doubting the sacraments. Among them, Casey sees Michael. At first, he almost doesn't recognize him. Michael is thinner, older, as if the years have been carved into his face all at once. His shoulders are hunched like the very act of standing hurts, but his eyes, that same eyes that he grew up with, are still there. They scan the crowd, frantic, searching, as if trying to anchor themselves in something familiar. For a heartbeat, their gazes meet. Casey feels a shock go through him. He doesn't know what to do. He can't call out. This is not a place where anyone speaks out of turn. They read Michael's sentence. The words wash over Casey in a blur of formality, but the meaning is clear. Michael has confessed to Judaizing practices and is condemned. If the story follows a harsher path, he knows that Michael will be sentenced and executed. If the Inquisition has decided to show mercy, he may be sentenced to life imprisonment, forced labor, or some other harsh penance. Either way, his life as Casey knew it is over. The ceremony goes on for hours. Incense hangs in the air. People murmur prayers. But under it all, there is an undercurrent of something else. Fear, fascination, the knowledge that this spectacle is also a warning. When it's over, when the crowd starts to break apart, Casey stands froze for a long time. He has seen men die before, from sickness, from accidents, from war, but this feels different. This feels like the machinery of the world itself grinding someone he loves into dust. Back in his town, the ripples spread. Some people shake their head and say, "It's sad, but the church must have had its reasons." Some say quietly, maybe he really was a false convert. Others say nothing at all, because saying nothing feels safer. And then there's Aldo. One afternoon, not long after the auto de fe, Casey runs into Aldo near the well. The sun is high. The air feels too bright, too clean for the weight in Casey's chest.
A terrible thing.
Aldo says, shaking his head. About Michael. Casey studies his face.
You're a monster! Oh no, why would you do this?
Say the dialogue! Don't improv now!
You sound very
Casey,
concerned, Aldo.
Shouldn't I be? Aldo replies. He lived among us for years. If the Inquisition found something wrong with him, who knows who else might be hiding things? He leans in slightly, voice dropping. You should be careful, Casey. These days you never know who they'll come for next. There's a glint in his eyes that makes Casey's skin crawl, an almost satisfied sharpness, like a man who has found a way to clean up some old resentment and wash his hands in holy water at the same time. Casey realizes with a cold clarity that Aldo is the kind of man who would go to the Inquisition with a concern, a worry, a story about a neighbor who once said something in anger or did something strange years ago. He realizes he may already have done it. He forces himself to nod, to keep his voice level.
You're right.
He says.
We all need to be careful.
They part ways. That night, Casey is at home. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a little spoiler. Do I get to kill Aldo? Ooh.
Hell yeah.
That night, Casey is at home with his wife. The house feels smaller than usual, like the walls are leaning in. They kneel by the bed to say their evening prayers. His wife's voice is steady as she murmurs familiar words, but Casey's mind is elsewhere. On Michael's face in the square. On Aldo's eyes by the well. On the letter from long ago warning that no one is safe once suspicion takes hold. He makes the sign of the cross, finishes his prayer, and for a moment there is silence. Then comes the knock at the door. It's the same heavy, deliberate pounding that once echoed on Michael's house. Not the tap of a neighbor, not the hesitant knock of a friend. A rhythm that sounds like something official, something that expects to be obeyed. Casey and his wife look at each other. He doesn't need anyone to say it. He knows who it will be. Maybe the same Algucalc as before, maybe different faces, but the same authority behind them. Somewhere out there, in the dark, there's a piece of parchment with his name written on it. Ink dried. Decision made. He stands, feeling suddenly much older, and walks towards the door. On the other side, boots scrape on stone. A torch crackles, and a voice, calm, professional, and utterly sure of its right to be there, waits to speak his name.
Oh, that's it?
That's it. So, that is my story I wanted to tell you. That is basically, how does it feel living through the Spanish Inquisition? In case you're about to go get tortured.
Not me.
It's not fun.
What they don't
As someone
know
who went
is
through it, it's
that
not fun.
Me in the 15th century, I was actually a secret agent of the king, and I'm trained in jujitsu.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. If you're gonna die anyway and you don't avenge me, I hate you.
That being said, the aspects of the story are real. Are the fact that is how like the towns first found out, like small towns first found out about the Spanish Inquisition, was town criers just telling them that new proclamations had been made. That was what that. So when we look back, and we know looking back on it, it was this horrible bloody event where they targeted, specifically the Spanish Inquisition targeted Catholics that weren't always Catholic, that came from families that weren't always Catholic. That's how it started, because they thought that false Catholics had gotten into the church, and they needed to purify the church.
Also, you said there's towards the beginning, you said like years have passed when
Yes.
this all started.
Yeah.
The Spanish Inquisition took place over about 350 years.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
why I was saying I'm talking about.
I was just clarifying that for the people who don't know.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Michael would have been dead. He doesn't know.
Yeah. Well. Anyways.
You were next on the chopping block, bitch.
So yeah,
Maybe
that's
it was the milk delivery guy.
So that's how people found out, was through town criers and through sermons, and they got told news by that. And like some people would get letters, like if you were someone who knew how to read and write, right? It's possible that you get a letter from a friend in another town, right? And so I wanted to include those aspects in the story, as well as that's how the fear kind of started. You know, you'd think, you know, you were living this normal life, like you've lived a good life, all, you know, and now someone could say, oh, you know, like a concern or a worry, or I heard them say this once, you know, like, and for any reason they could just throw someone under the bus just because maybe they didn't like you, or, you know, you had a bad business deal and they wanted to, you know, get back at you for some reason. They could get rid of you that way by just going to the Inquisition and saying they heard something once and they were concerned and needed to be, you know. And so that kind of fear just kind of grew amongst towns and amongst the population, that the fear that, you know, anyone could be targeted for any reason, you know.
And fuck Aldo.
I didn't know that the Spanish Inquisition was so widespread as to also affect the Americas. South America,
South America specifically, if I remember correctly.
Mexico City, Lima, Cartagena, and it ended in 1820.
Mm-hmm. That's still a long time.
1820. I mean, like, it was obviously
now
a long time
it had
ago,
lost a lot of its power by then, but it
Yeah.
officially ended in 1820. I think it was 1823, or was it 1820 exactly? I think it was
1820.
Okay. But yeah, it mean they weren't still. I don't believe they were still executing people in the 1800s, but yeah, the Spanish Inquisition officially ended in the early 1800s. So yeah,
It was established by Catholic monarchs King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabel I of Castile.
And it was to, get rid of the non-converted converts.
To maintain Catholic orthodoxy.
I just realized, why does my name say most suspicious?
Because you are. You think those letters were not suspicious to me?
Saying I was trying to give you a heads up from the other towns. But yeah, so what are your thoughts?
Aldo's an asshole. I will say it is kind of wild though to think about it. It's like, obviously I was Jewish at one point, but it's like even Casey pointed out that I went to church
in the story.
Yeah.
Technically,
I was like,
I don't. So technically in the story, I don't. The way I wrote it, like you weren't even Jewish yourself. You never were. Your parents had converted, and so like, yeah. Does that make sense? That was
what I'd be.
even the worst part of it. What's up?
How many people died?
At least me.
Yeah,
at least one.
At least one. Uno momento.
It is crazy to think that you, like, because Casey had pointed out in the story that I prayed sometimes harder than him, and like I followed Christian beliefs to a T, and I still, you know, because of my past, I was.
There's no exact. Modern estimates suggest, this is from Dr. Google, by the way. Modern estimates suggest 3,000 to 5,000 executions out of 150 prosecuted. But some think it ranges between 30 to 300,000 people were, I'm assuming, just prosecuted.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is, and the reason why it is closer to what why they estimate it's close to 150,000. Because when I was researching that, it said that the Spanish actually kept very detailed documents on their inquisitions, on everyone they questioned on. So they actually were pretty accurate on the death counts when it came to what they had recorded. Because one of the things I was reading about was, and that's why I included in there, is while Michael was being tortured, they were very calmly recording everything. Because they literally they have found records and books that were from that time period where they documented in detail what they did to the prisoners and how the prisoners responded to it.
That's probably all in the Vatican.
So
yeah, that's probably just all in the Vatican.
That's why it's not, because they don't know, they don't have all of those books, but yeah, some of the books have.
Dude, maybe we can get good with Pope Leo and he'll let us downstairs.
Maybe. Real quick.
I feel like there's some doubt.
There's a lot of doubt.
I've
A
been
lot of doubt in that.
executed.
Yeah, Michael's dead, so it doesn't matter. He doesn't care anymore. So just another reason.
Yeah, it's another reason to be upset with the church,
Well, I mean, this happened hundreds of years ago.
So yeah, that is my story. I wanted to just share with you some of the experiences
cool.
of the Spanish
There was a
Inquisition.
lot of information in there about like mainly what happens if you were prosecuted. Sounds like if you were prosecuted, you're pretty much just fucked.
That's literally how it was viewed. Once they had basically arrested you while you were on trial, it was, we already think you're guilty. Prove to us you are, like, either you have to have outstanding proof that you're innocent, or like, why should we give you a less harsh punishment?
Also, what I've kind of learned is no one, like, I wonder if there's a reason that nobody spoke up. You know, like if they spoke up, were they themselves going to be prosecuted? You know what I mean?
I was also wondering that because the part of the story where I'm up on this, like I've locked eyes with you at one point, and
I say nothing, and
You
I'm
don't
sure that
say
was a common
anything?
thing. I'm sure that happens all the time, or even
But I just feel like-
whenever,
that'd be a moment where you would step up.
like even when Michael gets taken away, I feel like his wife would approach my wife or me and be like, oh, "They've taken Michael," and then I feel like as a friend, I'd be like, "Well, let me go speak to him."
Who are you going to speak to?
It makes a good point. I mean, who are
You have no power, no authority. Oh,
No, but I can go and I can plead Michael's case for him, because if I am a devout Christian, which I would be, like even though
And
I
now
am essentially a
and
nobody.
hear me out. And say you go and vouch for Michael, and now under torture and under stress, he's confessed to the sins, and he's already told them what they want to hear. And now you say, so they're like, well, now we have the proof that Michael was guilty, and you're lying to us that Michael was innocent. So now,
Well,
kabam.
he would have been tortured for weeks if I would have went the next day.
Do you really think they would have listened to your case?
Maybe not,
Right.
but I'd be
didn't
a
happen.
shit friend if I didn't try. And that's I think that's part of the problem is whenever there is something wrong, just because it's the crown or the church or whatever, like I don't know, you're not willing to say, no, this is not right. That is not right.
Well, yeah, the Spanish Inquisition didn't die down actually until a bunch of reforms started happening within the church.
Yeah, but imagine how much, like it probably wouldn't have lasted so long if people would just be like, this is not okay.
Yeah, probably.
Speak
Not
up.
only did you not hit Aldo for me, you didn't hit him when he threatened you.
You could have
Dude, I'll
pushed
tell
him
you
in
what,
the
if
well.
Aldo sat next to me at a tavern and he's like, oh man, too bad your friend's gonna get killed. That sucks. I hope no one fucking turned and said something. I'd have been like, knife to the throat. Bam.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'll get
The
it.
part of the
Ding!
story where the guy, you had heard the knock on the door and you're like, my name has already been written on papers. At that point, if I had any thought that there was already a paper out there with my name on it that's already gotten to like a higher up, I would have just killed Aldo and be like, I'm going down anyways. Screw it. I'm taking him with me.
Explosives around my door. They come knocking, boom, boom.
Just take Aldo with me. Just be like, no, he's going.
They're like, some poor paperboard knocks on my door, explodes. Like, oh my god!
Some guy just beating your door. It's like, for the love of God, my wife needs help. You just open and just beat the shit out of this guy. It's like, oh, my bad, man.
Medieval claymore goes off.
What would be inside of a medieval claymore?
Mostly black
We'll
powder.
ignore the black
Shoot,
powder.
like spearheads. or
like
something.
what? Spearheads?
It'd have to be
Yeah.
something.
Little like arrowheads? Just little
It'd have to be
shrapnel
something,
arrowheads?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know my profession. Maybe I was like a, 15th century engineer.
You went to the blacksmith and just got his like shavings and stuff that he had like
Hold up.
come off
Yes.
of little faces, and then
This
just
motherfucker.
packed it, made your own
Yeah.
grenades.
Yep, that's what I would have
I
done.
can't think of the name of it. This
That's
dude's
how-
coming
that's
up
how
with
good of a
that
friend I am.
stupid. This guy right here I get picked off because I'm a Jew or my family was Jewish. This dude's out here building that. I can't think what it's called. The thing where it's like you start like a book falls on like a ruler, knocks a ball into another thing. I can't remember what it's called.
What's that called?
I can't think of it all. I genuinely can't think of it. But you're telling me you've made this medieval device where it's going to shoot an arrow into a guy walking through your front door, and I'm the one who dies when this witch over here exists?
Witch? No, an engineer. I'm just an
Witch.
engineer.
He's a witch. Yeah, so yeah, it happens, Michael. Sometimes you get got by the Spanish Inquisition, and you get tortured until you're told.
You almost got me. Where I'm standing on the stage and I like lock eyes with Casey. Like I was just picturing that moment in my head, and I'm like, I don't know what I'd say to him. I'd probably be so defeated at that point because I was just tortured for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if I saw Michael getting marched out with like a noose around his neck, I'd be like, Michael, I don't see. It's Casey, Michael. And then once he gets hung, I like get a cowbell. I'm like, woo!
So, anyways, Michael, as I was writing that, I can imagine like how hard that would be to see someone that you knew grew up with, and then now you've seen them after weeks of what presumably the worst torture that you've only heard rumors, and they completely look different, kind of like what was it on Hunger Games, what they do with PETA in the last movies. When they see you see his interview and he like looks sunken in and he's like completely different, like that'd be hard to see your friend like that, as Casey's over there trying to make jokes about Michael dying because
good riddance. What about it?
I was gonna make a joke in there at some point too. I loved all of it. I loved the story. It was great.
No, it's great.
I love the sexual undertones where I'm staring into Casey's eyes. There's a spark.
Definitely for going into the future. The story was awesome. I hope everyone else enjoys as much as I did. Definitely add more sexual undertones though. So that would be that'd be really funny.
No, please, no, that was a joke.
Yes.
No.
It'd be funny. Can't take it so serious all the time. It's just a podcast. Gabe, are you frozen?
No.
I thought he was. He yelled that so long.
I'm just disappointed.
Why? What's to be disappointed about? It was a good episode. I had a lot of fun with it.
You're getting really enjoyed.
Why are you bummed out?
I'm not bummed out.
Yeah, I had a great time.
I
You were
enjoyed
here
being
this time. Where were you last week? What happened?
Incorporated.
I was busy.
Great.
There are things that are no longer an issue for me now. I had to take care of some stuff.
Taxes, probably. Sure.
Anyway, but I'm here this week. That's what matters. I'm here this week. It's all that matters. I'm here this week, all right?
I wish I could get this thing to just do what I want it to do.
Well, maybe be better.
Yeah, it should be. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode on the Spanish Inquisition. And as always, don't forget your flashlight.
Yeah, you take it from here, Gabe. I'll just
as I said, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode on the Spanish Inquisition.
Bye, guys.
As
hope
always,
you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget your flashlight.